Hello, everyone. Hello, how are you doing? Welcome. It is the hey, it's the final day. It's the final lecture. We're not at the showcase yet, so we will see each other again on Wednesday. But this is pretty much it. All right, this is the last lecture, and I'm sad, but I'm also very, very excited. I know how fatigued all of you are. But I think that you've really done an incredible job in some very tough circumstances. And on Wednesday, we're all going to get to reap what you've sown. And this is a fantastic, fantastic thing. So I can't wait. Oh, okay. So today, before we conclude the course, we need to do a few things. We need to do a few announcements. We need to finish briefly, very quickly, go through the Games and AI lecture. And then we need to watch all of your trailers, okay? So let's go ahead and get to it. There won't be any office hours after this Wednesday, okay? If you want to speak with us on grades, if you want to just get career advice or something like that, what you'll want to do is you'll want to make an appointment. You can make an appointment either by contacting one of us through Discord or via EECS494staff@umich.edu. One thing to note, as the course comes to a close, please do not ask us for grade bumps. We will not give them. You get the points that you've earned on the Canvas gradebook. So please contact us if something was graded incorrectly according to the spec, or if we forgot to grade something or didn't see something. But do not ask us for a tiny grade bump, okay? There are still some extra credit assignments that you can do if you want to. That could be really impactful. So let me change the music, get a slightly different tone here. Here we are. All right. There we go. Okay, so let's see here. I think that's just about that. As far as assignments go, you have your P3 marketing final that was due today. Now, we're going to watch through all of your trailers that you submitted in just a bit. However, you can make edits if you want to. You can re-upload your trailer to the itch.io page, a new version, if you make a few changes in between today, and Wednesday evening, okay? So you have control over your itch.io page. You get to control all of that, so long as you've turned in your trailer to Canvas today. Due very soon is the showcase registration. Now, you can submit this forms multiple times. You can edit it if you want to, but we need you to submit this form, okay? This will give us the marketing material that you want to put onto the final showcase website. If you want to know how that showcase website is coming, you can actually visit 494showcase.com/early.html to see how the showcase website looks. I have to quickly turn off the twitch.tv here panel, otherwise stream's going to crash because I'll be watching my own stream. You can see that a number of games are already here and they have GIFs. They look really great. When you click on them, you can get to the itch.io page from them. Just click download game here. If you're not up here, make sure you fill out that form, and hopefully by tonight, this evening, I'll have your game up, okay? Another thing to note is that you actually have something you need to do. You need to click on this Meet the Devs button, or you can go into our agenda for today, and you can click on Accept Invite to Showcase Discord. What this will do is this will take you to the Showcase Discord server, where you will be able to find your game's channel. Eventually, probably like tonight, every game will have a channel. And that is where you'll be getting feedback. That is where people will be posting stuff. And that's it's going to be a pretty hop-in place to be during the showcase, okay? So make sure you register for that Discord server. I'll send some reminders when the showcase gets really close. Okay, so your P3 Gold, remember it's not due today. You have a couple more days to edit it if you want to polish it up and then get it to bug fix it, and then get it into Canvas. You also want to make sure that you've uploaded the game to itch.io as well. And then right before the showcase starts, you can click that release button on itch.io. You can publish your game, and hopefully we'll get a lot of people, not only from the showcase, but around the internet to play it, okay? Okay, so releasing soon, these two assignments are going to release on the day that your showcase happens. These two assignments are going to be very similar to you. One of them is P3 Postmortem. P3 Postmortem is another postmortem assignment. It is very short, 4 pages double-spaced, and you have a team of like 4 or 5 people, so it should be less than a page double-spaced for each of you if you break it up. You'll be following another template, and you will be looking back on your 7-week Project 3 process. It should be a pretty good time. I think you'll have a lot to talk about. A lot of teams go way beyond the minimum 4 pages. You also have quite a bit of time to actually get this done. If you look on the schedule, these 2 assignments launch on the showcase day on the 21st, but they're not due until a week later on the 28th. Okay, so you have quite a bit of time to do these 2 very short assignments. The other one is your P3 peer evaluation. This is going to be very similar to your P1 peer evaluation assignment in that you are essentially evaluating the congeniality and effort of your teammates. 1 to 3. 1 being the worst, 3 being the best. Now keep in mind, 3 does not mean amazing, okay? It doesn't mean, your teammate went above and beyond the Call of Duty and they spent all night, multiple nights working on the game with you. 3 means they met expectations. They were good enough, okay? If they had big problems, if they caused problems on the team, then you'd be looking at a 2 or a 1. But if you have someone who's just doing the best they can and kind of meeting the team's expectations, then that's an easy 3, okay? So don't be too stingy. All right. Okay, let's talk a little bit about Showcase logistics, right? Showcase takes place on Wednesday from technically 7 to 10 at 494showcase.com. If you go to this website right now, you will see a waiting page. It looks like this. It's kind of neat. This waiting page will disappear and become the early page probably at about 6 p.m., so about an hour to the official start of the showcase. And that is when attendees will start to drift in. That is when you should be checking to make sure your game looks good, to make sure all the links work, contacting us right away if something is wrong. And it should be a pretty good time. The Discord server, of course, you'll want to sign up for that. When the day of the showcase comes, you will have an assignment. You'll have an assignment that is very short. It's essentially going to be playing 5 games from the showcase, okay, and then posting some sort of feedback into the channel on the Discord server for that team. And that's going to be essentially it, okay? And it's not going to be a serious feedback and critique like you do through your videos. You'll want to focus mainly on the positive stuff, okay? It is meant to be more of a celebratory day. And then when it comes to grading, you let the staff take care of it, okay? All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at some logistics. By the way, everyone watching, how are you feeling? This week has been kind of interesting, hasn't it? I think it is the first week in which you don't really have a technical deliverable that you need to knock out, right? You're mainly focusing on the marketing, you're mainly focusing on just selling the cool thing that you've made. Did it feel different for any of you watching? Was it kind of a unique week? Yeah, Josh Catman is kind of chilling. Yep. It's I've heard it's supposed to snow tomorrow, so you will literally be chilling on Tuesday. All right. Okay. I'm going to get that Teacher of the Year reward if I keep these up. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on. So the showcase, right? Here's your schedule, okay? Most of the action starts at 7 p.m. and around 7:10 is when the lecture is going to start, when the stream is going to go live. Now, from 7 to 7:45 or so, we're going to be watching all of your trailers and some cool trailers from Eastern Michigan University as well. From 7:45 or so to around 9 or 9:30, we're going to have the exhibition and the voting. In other words, that is when most people are going to be flooding through the website and playing your games. You should expect a lot of feedback to be kind of flowing through your Discord channel. And it should be a pretty good time, okay? One thing that these these people will be doing is they'll be voting, and you should vote too. If you go onto the website, you will see at the bottom that there's a Vote Here button. The Vote Here button will also tell you how much longer you have to vote. And so you'll do your voting, and then it'll all be good. At around, probably around 9:30 or 10, to be honest with you, we'll actually tally the results. You should probably start getting to the website at around 6 p.m. just to check everything through, just to make sure that everything's fine, because that is crunch time when we'll need to make any last-minute changes if any problems show up, okay? When it comes to voting, so in person, during a non-COVID semester, people vote by getting 5 gems, you see these on the left, and putting them into bags. Each bag represents a team, and then we weigh the bags to determine the winners, okay? However, it is a COVID semester, and we are doing all of our voting remotely. We are doing it online. It's going to be a Google form that you will fill out. You will select your top 7 or so games, and each vote you receive is a point. Now, the judging from the various companies that are going to be there, they will also contribute some points with their votes. They'll also be contributing internships if they really like your game and really like you. But it is not a huge deal, okay? Something to consider is that this voting is not super indicative of your game's quality, okay? And the reason I say that is when it comes to voting systems, throughput is extraordinarily important. In other words, if you have an amazing single-player game that takes a long time to play through, then chances are fewer people will actually play it. If you have a shorter multiplayer game that can rapid-fire get people in and out, and people kind of like it, then there's a very good chance that you'll get more votes simply because more people played your game, okay? And also, there are sometimes teams that mess with the vote totals by like getting their entire fraternity to show up and only vote for them. There's really no security against that. So you need to take this voting process with a grain of salt, okay? Don't let it hurt your feelings if you don't do super well. I didn't do super well in my voting when I took 494, but it is a lot of fun. We took away the voting system once during a semester, and everyone wanted it back because it's just so much fun, okay? Let's take a look at the prizes. Okay, so there are prizes for this showcase in the voting. I have a Humble Bundle subscription, and as a result, I just get the stockpile of games that grows and grows and grows during a semester that I don't play. And so we have all of these games here. What's going to happen is that the first place team is going to get their pick of games first. What you'll do is you'll put your name under an email address. You'll put your email underneath the game that you want. And then a couple weeks, or probably a few days later, I will email you the code for this game, okay? And you'll have a game for your efforts at the showcase, okay? So there are a lot of games in here. I think the biggest and most expensive is probably Control, which was on the first slide. But there are other games on here that you probably never heard of. LX for $50? Whoa. I have no idea. I have no idea what that game's about. However, it is a little bit crazy, right, to think about how many indie games are out there that look great, but you've never heard of them, right? That is just the nature of the super competitive indie marketplace these days. So, okay, let's go ahead and keep going. Those are the prizes. You can look at them if you want to, and see which one you would grab if you were the first place team. All right. So the final grading schedule is a little bit interesting. So the showcase is on the 21st. On the 23rd is when we're probably going to start grading your other assignments. We'll start grading, and when we are finished grading all of your assignments, we will announce this over Piazza. When the gradebook is complete, we'll announce it, and you will have at least 24 hours to go through all your grades, check them, verify them, make sure nothing is wrong, make sure we didn't miss anything, okay? And when that process is done, when that 24 hours is over, we will put your grades into Wolverine Access, and your grades will hit your transcript, they'll be finalized, and that'll be the end of it, okay? You'll officially have completed EECS 494. Congratulations. Okay, so let's go ahead and keep going. If anyone has any questions, please let us know, and we'll go ahead and stop and get you some answers, okay? So what I want to do now is I want to watch through all of your trailers, okay? Your final trailers, perhaps the best representation of what you accomplished during the semester. These things are accessible, they're easy to give to friends and family, they're easy to post to social media, they're easy to show recruiters, they don't require any download, but they are still so awesome, okay? So let's go ahead and take a look. Last time we started with, at the beginning, 3 a.m. Studios, so this time I want to start at the end with 0 Studio, okay? So I'm going to disappear here so you can see the games, but I'm going to go ahead and get started, okay? So we'll watch a trailer, we'll clap, we'll heap some praise, we'll revel in your success, and then we'll move on, okay? Okay, 0 Studio with Lost Soul. This is a really great itch.io page. Oh, hey, someone followed me, I think. It has a big, nice image at the top that does a good job of setting the tone. On the sides, we've got the static, which gives you this kind of uneasy feeling. This is a good itch.io page for a horror game. It's got the right color palette. It's got the right choice of font. This is great stuff. Let's go ahead and watch the trailer.
Lost Soul is the story of a ghost's journey to reclaim his memories of the abandoned house he used to live in. You must use spectral skills to possess and move objects, and explore the abandoned house to discover what your life was like before your tragic fate. Beware, you may not be alone in this house. Avoid the ghost hunter and resolve your cloudy past so that you may finally rest in peace, or forever be a lost and forgotten soul.
Fantastic, fantastic trailer. It just hits the right notes. It gets its theme across really well. It shows off the fact that there are puzzles on the wall. You can see the cool piano, right? The piano sequence you need to play. It is really, really great. Well done, team. Well done. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on. Next up, we have Toasty Lion Studios. Okay, A Grimoire's Tale, and this is a really cool itch.io page as well. We've got these cool, this cool art on the side. Let's go ahead and take a look.
Bookie, wake up! There's no time for sleeping! The evil wizard has returned to steal the secrets of magic from the library. Worst of all, he's turned all sorts of creatures and things to the side. Stop him, Bookie, before it's too late! Using the magic tomes, combine your spells for powerful effects. Combine arrows and corrosion to plague your foes. Combine ice and arrows for a hail of attacks. Try bombs and lightning for explosive results. How about fire and homing to chase down some skulls? Or get creative and see what these spells have in store. In this action deck builder, the possibilities are endless, but are you strong enough to take down the wizard? Test your skill and your wit in A Grimoire's Tale.
Awesome. Well done, team. This trailer does an amazing job of showing off how the gameplay is really unique. The fact that you can combine all of these different abilities together is really impactful. It's a main part of the game, and it's absolutely featured here. Well done. Well done. Okay. So next up, we have Studio Spades with Stranded. I really like this background. I like it. It used the technique I love to use, where you take any image, basically, put a heavy blur on it, maybe change the coloring a little bit, the hue or the saturation, and then you've got an awesome background. Let's go ahead and take a look at Stranded.
Stranded. Who would have thought a place so beautiful could be so dangerous? Collect parts and manage your coolant levels. Search buildings and uncover the history of this world. Fight enemies that attack you along the way. And leave this world. Do you have what it takes, or will you be stranded here forever? Stranded.
Awesome. This trailer is also fantastic. It does an excellent job of ordering things, right? The trailer starts off showing you the world you've been stranded on. It then goes through collecting stuff, which is the most important mechanic, managing the coolant, which is probably the second, pursuing stories for upgrades, which is the third, and then the combat, which is kind of the least important, but still pretty important mechanic. Well done, team. Very, very well done. Okay, next up we have Studio Clubs with Kingsguard.
Sir, we've just received intel about a plot to take your life. The assassin is highly skilled and extremely deadly. Without you, your kingdom will crumble, and your people's lives will be next. In order to outmaneuver your foe and emerge victorious in this high-stakes game of strategy, you must place traps, send scouts to get an edge on the enemy, and lead your knights to victory. Kingsguard, releasing soon on Mac and Windows.
Awesome job, team. Awesome job. The intro is so much better than previous iterations, right? Giving you the context that you are a king and someone is telling you about the threat on your life, and then showing the audience, what this looks like. So, oh my gosh, here comes an assassin. We need to stop them. It then immediately goes into gameplay elements. You're placing traps. You're placing soldiers around. It is really, really great. This background and itch.io page looks pretty good too. Well done, team. Thank you so much. Next up, we have Star Guardians with Be Water, my friend.
Today's local breaking news. Our town lake has completely dried up.
The devastating news is wrecking everyone's nerves. You, above water, is on a quest to revive the once beautiful lake. However, you alone isn't enough to solve the issue. Therefore, as water, you decided to reunite with other droplets in different houses and terrains to increase your mass. In this 3D puzzle platformer, you will need to change your form to become different states of water, such as finding a cold spot to freeze or a hot spot to evaporate, since the water can easily spill or be contaminated by the environment. Make your way to the lake and be water, my friend.
Awesome. Very, very good. I couldn't help but notice that the frame rate in this area is now vastly improved, and the area looks great. It's now raining, so it makes sense that a puddle would be able to move around out here. The trailer also spends a lot of time showing off the individual different phases, right? So you get to see a lot of ice and its impact. You get to see water and its impact. You get to see the fact that you can fly with steam. This is a much improved trailer, and I think everyone's going to love it at the showcase. Thank you so much, team. Well done. You do need to work on this itch.io page, though. You want to replace this white background. You want to get some other background on the sidebars going. You're going to want to get some GIFs going on this, uploaded to this page. Otherwise, very few people will play it, as this is kind of the default, dumped my game on itch.io look. And almost no one wants to play games that look like they were dumped on, okay? So, all right, team, well done, well done. Okay, so next up, we have Smooth Monk Brain Studios with Fells Wargo. I really, really love this itch.io page. This top image bleeds into the background perfectly, so it looks really natural. The color palette that was chosen has got this Western kind of dry, kind of hot, warm vibe. We've got some good GIFs going on here. We've got our big trailer right here. So let's give it a watch.
Howdy, partner. Welcome to the Wild West, a place filled with hostile terrain, ravenous wildlife, and ruthless bandits. The other mailmen have all been run out of town. It's up to you to deliver all the packages. Do you have what it takes? Drop and throw packages to solve puzzles and complete deliveries. Navigate dangerous terrain across a variety of levels. Watch out and avoid bandits, or fight back if you're feeling unlucky. Uncover the truth behind the bandit operation in the ultimate Wild West delivery game, Fells Wargo.
All right, well done, team, well done. Very, very good trailer. The voice actor, the voiceover is timely and sounds very appropriate. The action was really, really well shown off as you describe things. It gets shown. Well done, team. Thank you so much. Okay, next up we have Witch Tale by Pentacle. All right, this is an amazing page on itch.io. The color palette gives you kind of this deep kind of moonlit vibe. The top art is beautiful and also gives you the kind of feeling of the game, the playful spirit of it. We've got these awesome GIFs down here that kind of show off the action, and so I can't wait to watch this trailer.
Witch Tale by Pentacle Studio. In the deep, dark magic forest, a little witch must help her grandmother improve her fashion sense. Embark on a journey to search for 3 enchanted items and craft a necklace for Grandma's 500th birthday. Use the power of her spells to levitate crates, scale platforms, and spin objects. Dodge the spikes and avoid the slimes. Use her grappling ability to swing through the trees. Just watch out, and she will safely come back home and save Grandma's 500th birthday.
Awesome. Well done, team. Well done. This trailer has removed a lot of the text and UI elements from these in-game cutscene images, and as a result, they're much, much easier to follow and understand. They're not distracting. It looks good. The game explores the plot and context first, and then slips into showing off each gameplay mechanic in really impactful ways. We got a lot of diversity here, so we've got different backgrounds, different locations, different enemies, different puzzles. Just a fantastic trailer, team. Very, very well done. Okay, so next we have Potato Studio with Polaroid. This is another fantastic itch.io page. We got this big, bold image right here at the top that kind of gives you a feeling for what's going to happen. We got this interesting camera going on. We have these backgrounds that look a little bit sinister, a little bit electronic kind of techno horror going on. And we got some cool images. The only thing I'd recommend is that some of these be replaced with GIFs. Okay, let's take a look.
Journal entry number 37. Yesterday, I received a request from an informant asking me to look into the situation regarding a factory that shut down 2 years ago. Initial investigations suggest that the factory was rented out to a startup of 11 employees that all went missing, including the leading research engineer, Dr. Chen. According to my informant, the team successfully developed a Polaroid that is capable of teleporting its users and resetting objects in the photos it takes. My hunch tells me that there is a bigger story to investigate here. I'm gonna check out this factory today. Wish me luck.
Awesome. Fantastic trailer, team. This, as opposed to the previous trailer, this one has a lot more diversity in its camera shots. The game shows off a lot more things, and the theming, the context is more convincing because you have this intro document, right, where a journalist is typing in his notes, and you even get to see it at the end for a kind of a full circle ending. So well done, team. Very well done. Okay, next up we have Mushroom Studios. Oh, awesome. Very, very cool. We get hit right away with this cool image that says Mogu, right? And got the little cute character there. We then have GIFs kind of showing how the game is played. Well done. The background looks pretty good. It's upside down, which might confuse people. But that kind of makes sense, right? For the game's mechanics. So let's go ahead and watch the trailer.
Welcome to Mogu, a puzzle platformer about flipping and turning. As you bend gravity, the puzzles will bend your mind. Explore a vast world.
Awesome, team. This is a fantastic trailer. It was last week when we first saw it. And now the end of the trailer with these cool shifts in the background It really wants me to just, it really I just got to play this game, right? I gotta see these backgrounds. I gotta see the ending if there is one. A very, very, very good trailer. And this is also a good itch.io page. Well done. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on. We've got the Michigan Association for Zigzagging Environments, and Project Maze. This is a really cool itch.io page. It's pretty intimidating. We've got this kind of skeletal figure in the background. It's clearly creepy. It's a little bit Lovecraftian, maybe. And so let's go ahead and take a look. The color palette's also really good on this page.
I understand, but no one has heard anything from the agents down there. We have to send them into the maze.
So, you dare enter my maze? I assure you, your spells and training won't help you here. You'll go mad just trying to find your way out. That is, if my creatures don't cut you down first.
All right, team, this trailer remains super full of character and charm. I really like the contrast between the agent who's speaking at the beginning and the crazy villain person who starts kind of creepily talking to you midway through. It seems like there's been more footage. The puzzle aspect of the game is a little bit more clear now, which is a really, really awesome improvement. Thank you so much, team. Well done. Next up, we have Lucky Clover Games with Motor Quest. So let's go ahead and see how it goes. The only thing I'll say, team, is that there's a big block. This background looks really good, and the images look pretty good. But there's this big block of space here that kind of looks a little bit empty. So what I would do is, if you can find an image to put up here, right, that will kind of push this text down and make this page a lot more kind of visually engaging. Okay, all right, team. If you want an example of how Mushroom Studios had this exact same problem with Mogu, and they solved it by putting a big image of their main character, like right here. Okay, okay, team. Let's go ahead and watch this trailer.
Motor Quest. Framed for stealing a powerful secret weapon, you, a motorcycle vigilante, set off on a quest to defeat the evil Agent Smith and clear your name. Bike and blast your way through Agent Smith's defenses, including enemy motorcycles, tanks, and auto turrets. Collect scrap from destroyed enemies to make repairs and craft ammo so you can keep taking on the forces of evil. This quest will take all the good old-fashioned grit you can muster. Will you rain fire and win the fight for justice, or meet the fate of an outlaw? Take the quest.
Motor Quest. All right, awesome. This is super good, team. Well done. The voiceover sounds like it's been tweaked a little bit. I think it's very articulate and pretty loud now. Otherwise, the only thing I would say is this beginning is a little bit weird when we see the title screen. It's a little bit strange because then we see a second title screen right here. But anyway, not a big deal, team. This is an awesome trailer. I would just focus on the itch.io page right now. Find something to put above the MotorQuest piece of text up here. Some sort of image, probably. Well done, team. Thank you so much. Okay, heads up with Witchess.
Yeah, kitty.
Your cat Polly has been taken. As the Witchess, you must save her. There will be many enemies on your journey. Knock them away with lethal lightning. Incinerate obstacles with furious flames. Defend yourself by conjuring shields. And close off paths with walls of ice. Be warned, magical elements are scarce, and one must be strategic. You will encounter all manner of puzzles along your way. You must save Polly. For if you fail...
All right. This trailer is still full of character, team. but it is also now much easier to follow. The fact that spells are a big part of this game is now much more obvious. And the trailer does a really nice job of just kind of slowly introducing each one and showing off its value with a nice zoom in, very, very close up. So this is a really great job, team. Well done, well done, well done. All right. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on here. We're almost done. Next up, we have Start with contracts. Let's take a look. Really cool itch.io page. We've got this very stark kind of black and white vibe. And let's go ahead and go.
Greetings, Agent. You have been recruited. Welcome to the agency. The target? The casino manager. Go in, find them, and eliminate them by any means. As usual, watch out for guards or dogs. Hide. Attack. Distract. Think twice to move when it's your turn. And finish your contracts.
Awesome. Very, very cool ending, team. The animation looks and sounds great. The zoom-ins that you've done take this trailer and make it dramatically more easier to follow than the previous trailer. Before, there was UI elements, there were other things happening in the game world. Now it is much easier to focus on what the trailer is kind of trying to tell us, okay? Well done, team. Thank you so much. Next up, we have Best Effort Games. Okay, awesome. And the page is actually up. Team, you're going to want to make sure that you get rid of this kind of default white background. As soon as an itch.io player sees this, they're going to think, oh, this game was just kind of dumped up here. You want to change it, go to pixabay.com, find some sort of cool image, put a blur on it, and then there's your background. It'll look pretty good. Okay, you're also going to want to get some additional images in here below the trailer. You're going to want to get some GIFs of your gameplay if you can, so players can immediately see what your game looks like in motion. Let's take a look.
Jump into action-packed beat-em-up style game Il Noxy and defeat your foes before they have a chance to fight back. As a trapped fighter forced into combat, you must claw your way out of the Coliseum to earn your freedom. Use the uppercut to propel your enemies airborne and render them defenseless. Use the grapple to isolate enemies and finish them off.
Oh no!
With a wide range of attacks to choose from, you must devise and discover different combos to catapult your enemies back to the Roman Empire. Put an end to the reign of Rob the Durable and become a free robot once again.
Oh, this was great, team. Well done. I really, really like the changes here. So slowing down and zooming in to show each move, like the uppercut, right? And you get to see its value right away. The grappling hook, and you get to see its value. And then ending with this super cool combo where you get to see them all kind of in use together with the dash. This is a really, really great trailer, team. Well done. Well done. All right. I'm excited. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on. This is going to be our last trailer.
No, this can't be happening. My friends, my family, my home, they're all gone. I will smash every robot I see. Go as far as I need to go. I'll have to build onto my suit for this, by scavenging from those I destroy, and use their power to keep the radiation out of my suit. I will do whatever it takes. Destroy every robot I can lay my hands on, and bring Kogo down to his knees, no matter the cost.
Awesome. Very cool, team. It looks like the final boss has not only a new aesthetic, which you can kind of see there, but also a new name. Its name is Coco, I believe. The voiceover talks a lot more about the gameplay elements than the last one did. So that's definitely a win. Thank you so much, team. Well done. Well done. Okay, I'll look forward to seeing your itch.io page. I don't think I've seen it yet. All right, that is it. Hey, these are really, really good. Everyone, you did a fantastic job, right? I know many of you don't produce trailers kind of as a living. You don't do that very often, but these are really good. They all have a really nice structure, and they all make your game's kind of intents and purposes very, very obvious. So that's the most important thing, right? Players have to understand what this thing is so that they can make a good decision over whether or not they want to play it, okay? Well done, team. Okay, what I'd like to do is I would like to get into games and AI, and we're going to move through this lecture pretty fast since we have one more final short lecture, Your New Tools, at the end to kind of close out the course, okay? So we'll get into it. In about 15 minutes, we'll go ahead and take our break. Okay, we've got AI and games. So who knows what this image is? Does anyone know? Think about it for a sec. You've probably seen this kind of thing before, particularly if you have taken EECS 492, the AI course here at Michigan. The pathfinding is a really, really cool and very impactful part of AI, but as we're going to discover, pathfinding and search is only a tiny part of what it means to do AI in the context of games, okay? So first, I want to talk to you about classical game AI. How many of you have seen this game before, right? And you all know what it's called. It's called Number Place, right? Number Place. Ah, of course, right? It was invented in 19th century France, and it was called Number Place. But unfortunately, it wasn't all that popular. It didn't kind of blow up worldwide until a company called Nikoli in Tokyo rebranded it as Sudoku, okay? So you've heard of Sudoku before, of course. So this is a massively popular game. It started appearing in magazines and papers and eventually even made its way into digital formats. Brain Age by Nintendo was a DS game that had a ton of Sudoku puzzles, and they were very, very fun. This game has a few rules. Your objective is to get a number, any number, into all of these cells, okay? You can see that we got a board here, and we have a bunch of cells that are blank, but we also have quite a few that are filled with numbers. Now, we have to fill every cell with a number, but we have to meet some requirements. Some constraints exist. Every single column has to have unique values. So if you take a column like this one, the third one from the left, this column has an 8, so we're not allowed to place an 8 anywhere in this column, okay? Likewise, all rows have to have unique values as well. So this column right here, third one from the top, this row, sorry, has a 9, an 8, and a 6. So we can't put those numbers anywhere else on that row, but we can put a 5 anywhere on this row. However, there's one third constraint. You can see this grid actually has a few subgrids, 9 of them, in fact. So each 9x9 subgrid has to have all unique values in it as well. So if you look at this top left subgrid of 9 cells, it already has a 5, a 3, a 6, a 9, and an 8. So we could provide a 7 in one of these, but we couldn't put it here. If we want to put a 7 into the cell, we couldn't put it here because then we'd have a 7, 2 7s in this top row. Okay? All right. This game is interesting from a mathematical perspective. As it turns out, in the general case, it is NP complete, which means it's really, really hard to find an algorithm that solves these. Okay? Now, it can be brute forced anyway, because generally the Sudoku puzzles that anyone cares about, they only ever have 9 times 9 cells, okay? So 81 cells that have to be figured out. Because we never really go beyond that, that means that we can usually brute force these kinds of things. Our computers just keep getting faster, but the puzzles don't get any bigger over time. Okay, how are these solved though? Well, the algorithm that is used is a very basic one, but very effective. It's called backtracking, and this is what happens. You start at the top, and essentially your algorithm just tries out numbers. It chooses a number that it knows will work, and then it just moves on, okay? It moves on placing numbers that it can figure out until it runs out of options. If it runs out of options, then it knows that some number it had chosen earlier is setting it up for failure later. So what'll happen is it'll go backward and it'll try a different number and then try and move forward again. And then if that fails, it'll go backward even further change the number that's earlier on in the puzzle, and then go forward again until eventually it finds the combination that works. You can think of this as a depth-first search through a big tree that represents every possible configuration, every possible choice of number, okay, to complete this game board. So in that way, it's extremely basic. However, it's still pretty effective. Now, depth-first search as a classical search technique is kind of fragile, and here's what I mean. It is possible to design a game board that will take hours for even very fast computers to solve, right? This puzzle is pretty easy to solve. Your computers will use backtracking to solve this puzzle in like probably under 20 milliseconds. But this puzzle has been pathologically designed to make sure that your algorithm always chooses the worst case. It always chooses the absolute worst choice. And so this puzzle can take some hours to solve. It's kind of disappointing, right? But that's one of the weaknesses of classical search. It is not organic. It doesn't shift and change its approach. And as a result, it can be designed against pretty effectively. Okay? Who's played Connect 4? Has anyone heard of this game, Connect 4? It was designed by Milton Bradley and Hasbro in 1974. And like Sudoku, it's a game with some constraints. Your objective is to create a 4-token line of your color in any direction to win. However, you only get to choose the column that you put a token in, and never the row. The row is determined by how many times a token has fallen into that column, right? You put a token in the top, it falls, you can't control whether it goes right or left after that. So let's go ahead and give it a play. We are going to play as a team against a bot, okay? We're going to change our yellow player to auto, we're going to start a new game, and then we're going to try and beat the robots, right? This is humanity's last stand. We need to prove that we can compete with the machines, at least in games like this. So, team, what do you think? What is the first move? We go from column A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Okay? Which column do we start in? We're the red player. We start. What are you feeling? What are you feeling, everyone? We got a C. We got a C. Okay, A, B, C. Boom, right there. Red can only draw the game. We can only ever tie the game now. See? Okay, so victory is no longer possible. That's kind of tough, isn't it? Okay, so Josh Catman says D. So let's go with D. Boom, right there. We can still draw, so that was actually a very good choice, Josh. Okay, what's the play? What's the next play? What's the next play going to be, team? We got a B from Ishwar. Here we go. Uh-oh. We're going to lose in 17 moves. Thank you, Ishwar. I think you've now killed 2 of our attempts. Okay, let's try another one. Let's go another one. We've got a D from Mikado. A, B, C, D. We're going right in the middle. Okay, we can still win. We can win in 20 moves. What's the next move? Who's got the next move? Who's gonna be courageous and make a choice? So we once had a Connect 4 expert on stream, and they managed to help us win the game. It was the first time that had ever happened. Okay, Josh Catman slips in with the C. Oh, Josh, what the heck? You took us from a victory in 20 moves to a guaranteed loss in at least 18. And if we keep throwing down carelessly, the number of moves it's going to take to beat us just keeps going down. Oh, crap. That was dumb, wasn't it? Anyway, okay, the question to ask ourselves is, was that any fun? It really wasn't that fun, was it? And so here is the interesting takeaway. Artificial intelligence in games is often about being less competent instead of more competent, okay? As it turns out, AI can almost can very often be programmed to just wreck human players, and so that is often not what a game developer is trying to do. Okay, so chess, right? This is a famous game that's been around for a long time, and it is a game that was taken on by computers. Does anyone remember Deep Blue? There's a really, really good Down the Rabbit Hole video on YouTube on the history of Deep Blue. And it was created in the 90s by IBM. Its purpose, I think it was mainly a marketing ploy, but its purpose was to challenge the grandmasters of chess at the time. It wanted to compete with and eventually beat the world champion, Garry Kasparov. The approach it took was pretty much classical brute search, though I do think it had some heuristics to kind of help it out. The machine played 40 moves into the future, and it had 0 human emotion. That part can be kind of important because humans can get tilted, and that can make their decisions kind of messed up sometimes. And eventually it did. It managed to defeat the world champion Garry Kasparov in 96 and 97. And it shocked the world. I love this image, right? Because as one person is really kind of distraught, we've got people in the crowd who are like nervous about what this means, and we have people in the crowd who are extremely excited, right, about what this means. And that goes to kind of show what, I mean, that's technological progress, right? It's very anxious and nervous, but at the same time, the potential is incredible. So here's another game, okay? Right? Okay, so computers were able to dominate chess long ago. But here is a game called Go. It is a famous and very historical Chinese game. And this is a game that has far more possible board combinations and board states than chess. Okay, chess has a lot of board states and configurations that it can get itself into, but Go has way, way more than that. In fact, I'm not even sure how to pronounce this, and I don't want to count those zeros. I did at one point, but this is more atoms in the observable universe, so you can never even hope to design an algorithm that could tackle this challenge. You could never decide. You could never have a brute force, a bot that's going to be able to cover and search through a tree this big. Okay, but that hasn't stopped recent headlines from being very positive. Google's AlphaGo AI wins 3-match series against the world's best Go player. Google's AlphaGo defeats Chinese Go master and win for AI. Google AI defeats human Go champion. So is this a classical approach or is it something new? Is this Google, is AlphaGo using brute force search or is it using something a little bit spicier? And then this headline is crazy. This seems like it's ripped right out of a movie. Very dramatic. Go champion retires after realizing AI is an entity that cannot be defeated. That's pretty dramatic and a little bit apocalyptic in my opinion, but that's okay. All right, how about we use a different approach? We're not going to just search through a big state tree. We're going to do something way more interesting. This is a video of DeepMind AI. While we watch this video, it's going to make your ears freak out. That's okay, I hope. But what I want you to notice is how the AI advances over time as it trains more and more and more, how it goes from barely knowing what to do to sort of knowing what to do to discovering some of the most advanced techniques in the entire game all by itself. No hard-coded technology here.
Around 100 games. So you can see it's not very good, but you can see it's sort of understanding slowly. You can see it's kind of understanding what it's supposed to be doing. It's trying to move towards the ball. This is after an hour of training, so about 200 games. So now you can see it's quantitatively better. It's getting the ball back around 30-40% of the time. It's still not perfect, but it's getting measurably better. Now after 2 hours or 300 games, it's better than any human can play this game. So it never misses the ball, even when the ball comes back at very fast vertical angles. So then we thought, okay, that's pretty good, but let's just leave it training for another 2 hours, see what happens. And then this amazing thing happened. It sort of worked out. The optimal strategy would dig a tunnel to the back and then send the ball round the back with a sort of
Okay, so that video may have been a little bit uncomfortable, but watching it might have been very shocking. If you are not familiar with machine learning algorithms and approaches, then this is the kind of thing that really gets people excited. It is an algorithm that essentially isn't hard-coded with any rules. You don't need to program it as the designer to say, hey, when the ball is at this X position, you need to be at that X position. The only thing that you do as a programmer, there are other things you do, but the main things you do as a programmer is you design a reward system. You tell the algorithm, hey, if you score points, that is good, okay? And then the algorithm says, hey, I did something, that something led me to scoring points. I should do that something more often, okay? You also have an internal state. This internal state are questions such as where should I be? Where should the ball be? Where should I be in relation to the ball? And what should the ball be doing, right? Going up and getting us points, right? And other PhD level magic. These will often come in the form of neural networks, which you can look up. Convolutional neural nets, I think, as far as images go. What happens is you come up with an algorithm, you get an algorithm that doesn't have any real hard coding in it as far as the game's rules go, and it learns over time. So if the game actually changes over time, the algorithm can adapt, it can learn, it can relearn, and it can even discover strategies that maybe humans haven't tried yet. So it's pretty exciting. Okay. This is much less fragile than classical AI. Another example is, okay, let's get away from Atari. How about Nintendo games, right? So this is an example I recorded of Mar.io. This is essentially this is a neural net. We've talked about this before, but we have a neural network on top here that is connected to a downsampled version of the world. And look at it, it's playing through really well, but it really has a hard time getting past that hole. The neural network feeds from the downsampled area, right here in this box, into a random and genetically chosen neural network in the middle, and then that is mapped to a series of inputs on your controller. And as time goes on, you only keep the neural networks that did well, and you breed, air quotes, breed those neural networks together to get the next generation of different networks to try, okay? So it's pretty cool stuff. We even had one of our 499 students and 494 students, Matotska Waltz, he went and created a Celeste bot. He took the Celeste bot and he improved it dramatically. You can see it's essentially the same thing as Mar.io. We have this downsampled version of the world that surrounds the character. And then we have a neural network that these things feed to and go to these inputs on the controller. And you can see that Madeline is able to get pretty far across the stage. Okay. There are even, it's possible to train agents and bots to run around and, become enemies in your game. Osama Anzari, our 499 student from a semester or two ago, was able to train a machine learning bot, this hummingbird, to chase the player around and try and consume their flower, as birds do. It's pretty interesting, isn't it? How the bots kind of learned to chase the player around and stuff like that. Okay, let's keep going. I think we've gotten to about time. Okay, it's 3:30 p.m. So why don't we do this? Why don't we talk about AlphaGo in a little bit? We're going to take 5 minutes, and we're going to turn the music on. Let's get some we did Tengu Man. Let's get Grenade Man from Mega Man 8, and we're going to see you in about 5 minutes. Okay, at 3:37 we'll be back here and we'll finish up this AI lecture and then the course. See you then, and ask any questions you may have. Ooh. All right. Okay, so let's get back to it. So AlphaGo, right? This technology that's been just doing an incredible job with the kind of Go Grandmasters and Go World Champions on this very hard game. It was acquired by Google in 2014. Its actual approach is to use a hybrid of kind of classical tree search and 2 layers of neural networks. So it's kind of using machine learning in combination with classical approaches to figure out what moves to make, to try and make their best choice, even if it can't see all that far into the future. It was the first program to defeat a professional human Go player in 2015, and arguably one of the strongest players thus far in history. Dota is another game. If we want to get away from board games for machine learning, then real-time games like Dota 2 have been a really great kind of testing ground for AI. OpenAI is a company you might have heard of. It was purchased by Elon Musk for $1 billion. I can't remember exactly when. The interesting part about it is that it's self-taught. There's no hard-coded strategy when it comes to Dota 2. What it does is it plays against itself. It plays against one copy of itself. It plays for a month and got to a pretty good place. It uses the feedback that it gets from playing against itself to kind of diversify its strategy and kind of hone in on what are good strategies for certain situations. It was able to beat human professional players at the Dota 2 International in 2017. Let's quickly watch a little bit on that.
OpenAI's goal is to build safe, artificial general intelligence. We know that AI can be extremely beneficial to humanity, and it's going to require fundamental advances to see what it's really capable of. Dota is a great testbed for artificial intelligence. It's a very complicated game with a large competitive scene. And what this means is that you have to develop new techniques. You have to push forward the boundary of what's possible in order to get anywhere. For this project, we're building a Dota player. We're starting with a bot capable of beating top professional players at Dota 1v1. The rules of Dota are so complicated that if you just think really hard about how the game works and try to write those rules down, you're not even going to be able to reach the performance of a reasonable player. So our bot is trained entirely through self-play. It starts out completely random with no knowledge of the world and simply plays against a copy of itself, which means it always has an evenly matched opponent. And it climbs this ladder of skill level until it's able to reach the performance of the best professional players in the world. The International is Dota's World Championships. 20,000 fans come from around the world to watch professionals compete for a $24 million prize pool. Over the course of the International, we tested our bot against a number of professional players. It turns out that our AI has learned really robust skills in the game that is actually really competitive with these pros. Many of the pros wanted to keep playing the bot and started talking about using it as part of their training routine.
My first impressions is it's pretty easy to get tilted from losing to like a bot. And I think the problem relies in people don't usually expect such a strong bot. Now he has a double wave and I can't trade hits with him. And he's going to be level 3 before me with full HP. I think, watching the replay, honestly, I just learned something, so it's pretty helpful. Like, I felt like I'm one of the strongest SFs, and knowing that this move, like if I can foresee that if I make this move, this will happen to my wave and this is what's gonna happen, it's just pretty nice to experience it. Like someone could tell me this could happen, but I think experiencing it is just another level of knowledge.
In addition to the pros, we thought it was pretty cool that a number of amateur players enjoyed playing the bot as well.
It does kind of, I think that it would open up out of the box thinking, because there's many ways to win a game of Dota specifically. Okay, he's ignoring the fairy fires. The bot is good. The bot is better than I could have ever imagined. That we can get one hit from the donkey. Hello. He took the bait. Okay. So your bot does not attack random things on the ground.
Does not attack random things on the ground.
It predicts where you go in the darkness. Yeah, that I did. Can I play again?
You're very welcome.
Okay, we're gonna go one more.
This event was us introducing our Dota project to the world. The next step is to try to build a team of 5 AIs and see if we can get it to reach the level of the top human professionals. Beyond that, we want to start mixing together AIs and human players on a single team and try to reach levels of performance that neither of them can reach on their own. We're super excited to see where that goes and hope that you'll stay tuned.
All right. So pretty darn cool stuff, yeah? The AI, right, machine learning powered approaches have successfully left the realm of board games and have started making an impact in real-time games. This is actually really significant because if you think about what many of the goals for AI are, the idea that eventually we want an AI that can handle the real world, whether it's driving or moving around or just handle real-world problems and interactions. If you think about it, many of our modern real-time games are essentially simplifications of the real world. Many of your 494 games have physics. You know, when you drop something, they will fall. Some of them have doors. When you go to the door, you go through it, right? And so if we have all of these virtual, simplified, downsampled, air quotes, environments, then that's a perfect training ground for the real world, for AI, okay? So if the AI can get good at our simplified representations of the real world, our video games, then maybe one day they will be able to help us in the real world as well, okay? And they're already starting to do that. Okay, so what is the catch of machine learning? Well, there are some issues with ML, okay? And if you go to grad school, there's a very good chance you'll be studying these deficiencies and trying to improve them. One of them is how on earth can we make this train faster? You might have noticed in one of our earlier videos, the DeepMind video with Breakout, it took quite a few training episodes. It took a lot of time for many of these machine learning algorithms to get up to speed, right? OpenAI required a month of playing itself. And that's not a ton of time, but that's probably a little bit faster than many people will want. A lot of really exciting use cases won't be possible if it takes 1 month to train your AI to do anything. So the question is, how can we make the training faster? And how can we make that training, the model that results from it, how can we make it more adaptable? Regrettably, with self-driving cars, Uber, I think back in, I can't remember exactly what time this was, but a couple of years ago, Uber's self-driving car operation in Arizona accidentally ended up running a woman over as she crossed the street and killing her. She crossed the street at night, and the vehicle didn't quite know how to react to that, and so it had a catastrophic result. Okay, I guess it had never run into that situation before, and so it couldn't adapt what it knew already to know to stop. And then the question of what new industries can we apply this technology and approach to? One really cool one is remastering old games. As it turns out, you can often feed a blurry texture or photo into a machine learning algorithm and have that machine learning algorithm freshen it up, sharpen it up. And so you can do this with old games to give them a new life, a new level of detail and clarity. Machine learning is the single largest category of incoming PhD students at the University of Michigan, and I believe at most institutions like us. And this is not even particularly close. I think computer vision was second place and had like a third of the incoming students. So it's pretty impressive. So getting away from machine learning, there are some tools you can use today. One of them is pathfinding. Okay, pathfinding is essentially when you're doing a tree search. You have a space, and you are looking through that space trying to find a route to some objective. This is a link to a tool that you can use to kind of play around with different pathfinding algorithms to see which ones are most performant, which ones do the job the best, and in what situations. You can actually build your own walls here too, which is really cool. When it comes to pathfinding with a ton of people, like in Planet Coaster, there are other techniques beyond classical search that you can use. You can use things like flow and vector fields, so that no matter where you are on a map, you can always, in O of one time, figure out which way you need to go to get to a certain point, okay? That seems like a dream come true, doesn't it? There are some pretty significant trade-offs if you take this route, but if you have a ton of agents, then it's often a really, really good idea, okay? Behavior trees. Now this, that GIF I was going to show you in the corner of Street Fighter 2 lags my computer a ton and the stream. So just take it from me. It is possible to make pretty decent AI for simple games, even somewhat complicated games like Street Fighter, by simply layering a humongous set of if and else statements, okay? And that eventually starts to look a bit like a behavior tree, which has been really effective. In fact, it's probably the most common kind of AI approach that people use at AAA studios. The fantastic AI from Alien Isolation is one big, fancy behavior tree, if you can believe it. No machine learning or anything too much fancier than that. Okay, let's talk about procedural generation, and then we'll conclude our AI talk. So procedural generation is a very, very hot topic, and it's the kind of thing that I think traps a lot of programmers as they're getting into game dev. Hey, I can design a level by hand, but what if I told my technology to do it for me? Well, unfortunately, it's very hard to encode a lot of the game design rules that we've gone over in this course into an algorithm. And so it's often a big struggle, right? These two games had they both heavily used procedural generation, but they both had a very different response, okay? No Man's Sky used procedural generation and maybe a little bit of handcrafted material to generate a ton of their content. And as a result, yeah, it's all technically different, but it mostly kind of feels the same. You walk around, there aren't super interesting structures. It just kind of feels a bit blah. Spelunky was much, much, much better received with many levels being generated and them all feeling like they have this handcrafted touch to them. And so the question is, what really separates these? Well, Spelunky doesn't rely exclusively on procedural generation. What it does is it takes a pretty big set of handcrafted, hand-designed levels, and then each of those levels have procedural aspects of them that the algorithm can decide to turn on or turn off. As a result, you're guaranteed to get levels that feel handcrafted because under the surface they are. And so they're well designed and they're interesting and they put you in unique situations. However, these levels have this procedural generation coding, kind of coding, the seasoning, that allows you to get a lot more value out of that kind of tinier set of handcrafted levels, okay? In other words, one of these games used procedural generation as its entire content approach, and another used it as kind of a helping tool to take some handcrafted content, well-designed content, and stretch it out really effectively. So why is procedural generation dangerous? Well, if we look at the procedural generation technique that Spelunky uses, here's how it works. The game of Spelunky is all about navigating through a big cave. Now, you always start in one of these, air quotes, rooms on the top row. There are 4 rooms on the top row, and 16 rooms total. You always leave and escape and complete the stage somewhere on the bottom row, okay? So here's how the algorithm starts. It starts in a location, and it basically chooses, what place on the top row are we going to spawn in our player. It chooses a particular template of a room that has a door. Okay, good. It then says, am I going to go right? Am I going to go down? Or am I going to go left? Okay? And then, okay, let's say we choose right, okay? We then grab another room, a template, and we instantiate that template, and it's going to be different because they're random elements of that template. We then maybe decide to go down. Notice we can never ever decide to go up. We then maybe go right, we may go down, left, left. If the algorithm ever wants to go down and it's already on the bottom row, that is when we go ahead and create the exit, okay? What we have here is a critical path, a solution path. This room, 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 okay? These rooms along this path need to have some special qualities to them, okay? We know from our game design lectures earlier in the course that you're never allowed as a game designer to soft lock the player. You're also never allowed to give them an unwinnable situation. And so this path needs to be designed in a way so that players who have no health remaining, no bombs, no ropes to go up and down, no bombs to blow up walls, right? A player who's in the worst possible status can still get through it, technically, okay? And if you notice, all of these rooms along this path, they have little things that help you not fall too far, right? Like this little guy, sorry, I'm blocking it. This little guy that is standing up a little bit so that players can safely fall. If they fell any further, they would take damage. So, this critical path is really, really important. Everything that's off of the critical path can be blocked, can be filled with enemies, can be filled with treasure, because it's not, you don't have to go into those rooms to complete the game, okay? If a player does have spare bombs, they can blow their way through a wall and get access to a lot of goodies. But this kind of gives you a feel for how handcrafted the approach really was. Every room is selected from a template set and then kind of customized based on random chance. There are a special set of rooms on the critical path that have to have certain characteristics so that a player can always get through them if they are at death's door and have no supplies, okay? As a result, this entire game has a well-designed and handcrafted feel to it that works extremely well, okay? Anyway, the takeaway here is that procedural generation can be a powerful tool, but it can't be your entire game, okay? Procedural generation works a lot better as a seasoning, right, to sprinkle onto a dish instead of being the whole dish, okay? You'll get a lot more mileage out of it that way. Okay, so use it to complement your handcrafted content where you could end up with a No Man's Sky situation. All right. We're going a little bit fast. We didn't have the same technical issues we had in the first lecture. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to finish up this course pretty quickly. I want to, and by the way, if you want to watch the slowed down and more comprehensive version of that lecture, then I recommend that you watch the lecture recording of the final lecture from last semester, okay? Or you can go through those slides at your own pace if you want to. Okay. So I want to take you on one final postmortem, but it's going to be of the entire course and not a particular project, okay? If there's anything that you should probably take away from this course, it's the power of iteration. Hopefully you felt it. It's the idea that we can start anywhere with our projects, anywhere with our goals, anywhere with our lives. And as long as we keep taking steps in a direction and then looking back to see how we're doing, you know, getting feedback, you know, thinking about what we need to do next, and then carrying that through, then we should expect over time to end up in the places we want to be, okay? Does anyone know who this is? This is a man from the 1800s called George Santayana. Now, you probably haven't heard of this man, but you've definitely heard of his saying. It goes like this: those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it, okay? And this is a phrase that is usually heard in history courses, right? In fact, it's one of the big motivations for learning history, right? And it's often said in the context of wars or atrocities or violence, right? If we don't learn as a species how bad war is, then we're probably going to keep doing it, right? However, this phrase is also interesting when you consider good things, right? He was talking about wars and societies and rulers, but what if we apply this to our pasts, to us, right? Our lives. And what if we also consider not only the bad things that we want to avoid doing in the future, but the good things that we definitely want to do more of or reinforce? Right? This is all about iteration. You know, you've invested super heavily in EECS 494 this semester, and it really, really behooves us, all of us individually, to review, reflect, and think about the future, okay? Think about your time in 494. So postmortems are really, really important. I do a lot of these. Every single night there's a bot I wrote that will create a Google document and email it to me and essentially say, hey, it's that time of night. It's time for you to write your daily review. You can think of it as kind of a digital journal. And you can see in here that a lot of days were skipped. These are all documents here from my Google Drive. Now, a lot of these days were skipped, the ones that are blank, and a lot of them are pretty continuous. And I have to tell you, if I think back about the most impactful points in my life, right, when things were just going really, really well and moving forward and getting a lot done, feeling very productive, feeling very good, it always tended to be when I was writing a ton of reviews and really reflecting a ton. Okay? It just helps you make better decisions. At least in my experience, it has. So here are some questions that you should start with when you think about 494 and your experience in this course. What did you gain? Like, just break it down. What did you really benefit from this course? I know I took some courses back in my day, I think a lot of them in high school, that I felt were really contributing just about nothing to what I wanted, right? However, they took a lot of time. So the next thing you need to think about is, what did I spend to get those benefits? Was it worth it? And then you also need to think about what comes next. What is around the corner? In terms of what is gained, it could be anything. You could have gained money if you did a job for a while. You would have gained money. A course, maybe you gained knowledge. What kind of knowledge? How useful is that knowledge? What kind of influence may you've gotten? Do you have the ability to join a community and talk with authority about a certain subject now? Relationships, right? Have you made any relationships with companies, with staff, with peers that made this time worthwhile, that you think will help you in the future? Have you gotten the satisfaction or the joy of just working on video games, right? Something that you may have been dreaming to do for a while. Can you feel the satisfaction of honing a craft and visibly getting much, much, much better at it over a period of time? Was any of this valuable, and how was it valuable? After figuring out, okay, what we gained from a course like this, or from anything in your life, you need to think about, what did you spend to get it, and was it worth it? Did you spend money to take this course? The answer is yes, right? Unless you're auditing. What about stability? Was your life a little bit disrupted? Was your sleeping? Was your health? Was your eating habits a little bit disrupted by this course? By something else, right? What about time? You've spent about 4 months of your life, okay, and that will become way more valuable, that time, as you get older. But was it worth it, right? If someone walked up to you today and said, I will wake you up in 4 months and you'll have this new skill, would it be worth it to you or not? What about relationships? Have you had time to go talk with your friends, your family, right? All of these things, hopefully this course wasn't too expensive in these things for you. But if it was, can you think of, was it worth it? Do you want to do another course like this in the future? Do you want to jump right into 482 after taking 494 and have kind of a similar super difficult experience? Are there ways to where, if you took 494 again, could you use new techniques? Could you make different decisions to reduce the cost of taking it? Maybe you make certain decisions and then boom, you don't have to stay up all night anymore, right? Or maybe you make different decisions, you allocate some time for eating, and now you feel healthier, so you're more productive, which means you don't need to stay up anymore, right? You really want to think about all these things. This is a part of your postmortem process, and if you think about these things, you will get a feel for what I want to do next. No, I don't want to take a 494 style course again, or maybe I do. Maybe this really is worth it for the amount of time and energy I put in. But the point here is that you think about this stuff so that you know what to do for the future. That's the part of iteration. You need to look back and think and contemplate so that you know what comes next. Okay, these are iterative questions. They help you iterate, and only you can answer them because these questions are going to vary dramatically based on who is asking them to themselves. Okay? So I'll give you a few tips, though. I'll help you think back about all the things that you learned, because it has been a while. Wow, there's a lot of knowledge in this course. The red stuff is stuff that probably wasn't something you learned due to COVID, okay? However, there's a lot of engineering stuff you probably got a feel for. Not only did you learn an entire extremely popular game engine, but you learned about the composition design pattern, how nice it can be to be able to take all these different components, these scripts, and kind of link them up into an entity and have them function together. You've learned about stuff like C# and delegates. You learned about how game engines work and the kind of technologies they tend to provide, the difference between collisions and triggers. What about coroutines? Coroutines are everywhere in languages these days because they're super awesome to use. They allow you to pause temporally the execution of a script while letting other stuff still run. That's extremely useful for user-facing stuff. What about raycasting, reaching out through 3D space? What about Metroid and Zelda and classic games and all of the different impactful stuff that they had to get to make those games satisfying? Juiciness and rendering, we got a little bit of time with. Animation, we also got some SIMD, some graphics programming, not too much, but a little bit. In terms of design, right? You got experience with guidance, juiciness, you got interesting decisions, and you got to see how the crash of 83 was in some way fueled by just the lack of guidance during that era. You wrote 11 pages or so, kind of comparing different games and their game design elements. That is a lot of work, okay? That really, really helps. You learned about accessibility, but you also learned about how to make things deep while keeping controls accessible. UI and UX, game feel. What about feedback loops? You remember that lecture? I really like that one. Unfortunately, we didn't have time for any field trips this semester. But in terms of business, you learned about Jira. I'm sure not all of you have had experience with that tool set before, but you learned about project management, you learned about Jira, and hopefully that will help you in the future. You did a lot of playtesting sessions. You got to critique and then receive a lot of critique and kind of learn, okay, what is really useful feedback and what isn't. You learn about business analysis tools. So when a company goes and does something super weird, you can try and rationalize why they're doing this and what they might do next. Ecosystems are a really big part of this, as are value chains. You got a little bit of experience probably with the Pat 305 kind of freelancer relationship. And, you also got to think a little bit about games as an art form. And you also got to do some trailer production. This is a lot of stuff for 4 months. And I think you really have some great portfolio pieces that make it clear that you have some good experience with most of these topics. So well done, team. I mean, you've done so much. It's really incredible when you look back. So another thing I want you to consider is that not only have you gained the ability to work on some of the most impactful games of the day, we've had 494 students go directly into AAA after this course. Though most students tend to go get a AA job, maybe a Stardock, and then maybe a startup job, like at Spellbound, before doing that. But we have a lot of students. You have the ability to do this kind of stuff now, to really lead the charge on the future of games. But not just that, you also have the ability to lead the charge on the future in general, okay? Because we have a future we're looking at that is extremely interactive, very visually rich, and it's going to depend on this kind of UX that you've figured out how to do, right? How to make things engaging, how to make things work well, how to make big systems that run 60 frames per second, right? You can do research. You can build educational stuff. You can build awesome visualizations for companies. You can build really human products that for pediatric medical care, right? Games are having so much impact these days, from helping people plan their wedding to research, right, with genetic algorithms. So there's so much. We'll go over it really quickly. You've seen this before, right? Visualizing interactions with a phone, very helpful. It took about 40 minutes. And I think you could probably do this within about 40 minutes now as well, many of you. Simulations, right? Always very cool. This one on the bottom is really cool. It is NVIDIA. Their kind of virtual world. They don't really want to be training their self-driving car technology out in the real world because that's expensive and it's dangerous and there's a lot of regulations there. However, if they create a fake world, then they can train their virtual cars as much as they want. They don't really have to worry too much. Okay? What about game development for visualization, right? BrideView helps someone plan their wedding. Hey, you've got some social network data? Hey, yeah, we can visualize that as it builds over time. This is a really cool company called Gwydion. Unfortunately, they are dead. However, I think their costs went up way too fast. They bought like an entire floor of a building, I think. Anyway, they had a technology that let you kind of visualize molecules for scientists in VR. So it's much easier to understand the shape and structure of a molecule if you look at it in VR as opposed to as a 2D image on a textbook page. Okay. What about game development for humanity? Right? You could now go out and you could build applications for children, right, to help them through scary hospital visits. You could go build applications like Mainichi that help people understand others who might be in a different situation from them, build empathy that way. You could build software that's going to help the next generation get really enthusiastic about technology and virtual worlds and digital citizenship and math and science and all that good stuff. What about this? Okay, this is maybe a little bit more immediate. After this course, I hope none of you will ever consider producing a slide that looks like this or this. The reason, of course, no one reads the manual. This slide is going to disengage players in the exact same way as if you throw a bunch of text at the player right away in a game. Okay, a bunch of text that isn't, kind of in form, right? Isn't explained in the environment itself. So also parks, right? The exact same kind of guidance and game design principles you used for your digital worlds will work in your real worlds. The next time Halloween comes around, go to your local haunted house or your local haunted cornfield and see if you can notice how they try and make sure you don't get lost, how you know where to go, how the experience kind of escalates over time to get more and more creepy, right? Okay. And then I'm going to show you this. I think I've shown you this before, but Steve Jobs showing off the dock for the first time. I'm going to show this at the showcase, but remember, Steve reveals the dock and how it magnifies the icons if you bring your mouse down. And it's a very, very impactful moment. It just proves the power of juice, right? Making something juicy and interactive and organic is going to attract people to it, even if it is not a video game, even if it's just operating system software. What about game dev for simulation? While many simulations these days look like this and will continue to, there are more and more simulations these days that look a lot like this. This is fighter pilot training, I believe. And there is an enormous amount of resources and money that gets poured into this kind of stuff. So you could make a very, very healthy career out of building software to train pilots, commercial pilots, military pilots, whatever you end up doing. Okay? But the big takeaway here is that iteration really is the key. Okay? You can get to wherever you want to go. We're going to be optimistic. You can get to wherever you want to go by following this process. Figure out where you are, figure out where you want to go, design a step for getting there, carry that step through, and then figure out, did it work or not? Rinse and repeat. That really is it. It requires a lot of discipline, though, and it requires a lot of honest kind of reflection and postmortem. So here are the true course takeaways that I think are most important for you. Multidisciplinary empathy. The idea that you're excellent programmers right now. But if you want to be an excellent engineer, you need to understand the context in which your code runs. You need to understand and appreciate the problems and challenges that artists have, that business people have, that your producer is going to have, that your designer, your writer is going to have, right? If you can understand these things, then you can build software that has more impact for real people in real situations. You should understand the power of iteration. We've spent a lot of time talking about it, and I'm going to say it again, right? You need to not fear where you currently are, okay? As long as you believe that you'll be in a better place tomorrow, and then the day after, and then a worse place the day after that, but then you correct course and you're back on path, then you don't really need to worry too much about where you currently are. You can keep moving forward with some confidence, but you do need to stop every once in a while and look around you to figure out if you are on the right path, okay? Confidence with feedback is really important. Feedback is a big part of the iterative process, and it can be really, really hard to take, right? When you work super hard on a game and you put it out there and it just doesn't work, right? People aren't having fun. That can be really painful. However, it is not an indictment of you, okay? The feedback is for your game, it's not for you, right? You're awesome. There are a million reasons why you might put a bad game out. It could be lack of time. It could be just being unlucky. It could be anything, right? Maybe you got sick. So as long as you make sure that it's not about you, okay? When you get feedback, it's never about you, okay? It's always about the product you put out. And because of that, you don't have to feel bad. You don't have to get demoralized. Hey, the product's going to be way better next week anyway, okay? Thank you for letting me know where we currently are. Feedback is a gift. If you think about it that way, then you will be able to iterate much more often, and fear won't be as part of an equation as it can be, okay? I have two final notes for you as we depart here. The first is about Goodhart's Law. It's a really interesting concept. It goes like this, formally. Any observed statistical regularity will tend to collapse once pressure is placed upon it for control purposes. That is a very formal and academic way to say it. Here's one that's much easier to understand. When a measure becomes a target, it ceases to be a good measure, okay? Here's where this comes into play. You've all seen this before. This is your rubric, okay? This rubric has a number of criteria in it. It has interesting decisions. It has guidance. It has juice. It has professionalism, novelty. I want to ask you, is it possible to make a great game that wouldn't be graded very well in this? Can you think of any? Well, it's not that hard to think of a few. Has anyone heard of Flappy Bird? It was one of the first games you created in this course. Flappy Bird, if you applied the EECS 494 rubric to it, would probably get demolished. Okay? It is a very simple game that does not have all that many interesting decisions. There are a couple decisions, and it's very reflex-based, so it wouldn't do really poorly, but it wouldn't do amazingly well either, okay? What about other games, like Gone Home, that aren't super challenging, and maybe don't have a ton of interesting decisions? You're kind of along for the ride. I do think it has some puzzles, but how would that game score? Both of these games would probably not score super well in our rubric, and yet they are two extremely popular games. And so the question is, what's going on here? Well, the reason this rubric exists is because we somehow have to grade an infinite design space, right? You can make a game about anything, in any way, really. We have to take this infinite design space and we have to compress it and shrink it and mold it down into something that can be anticipated and predicted and measured somewhat objectively. Okay, that's why we have these categories, to kind of give you a hint as to what we'll be looking for and how to get the points you need. However, you are gone now, right? You're done with 494. You've escaped this rubric. So you don't have to make a game that explicitly has a bunch of decisions in it. Why don't you try and make a game that doesn't have any decisions, just a roller coaster ride, you know? What if you went out and made a game that had zero guidance, that was deliberately and intentionally confusing? That sounds pretty bad, but do we really know that for sure? Maybe the next big genre is out there waiting to be discovered, and you won't get to it in 494 because the rubric just wouldn't allow it, right? It would punish that game, punish that genre. Well, don't let us kind of hold you back, okay? Don't let us hold you back. Go out and do something weird, do something funky, okay? And who knows what will happen, okay? You're free from 494 now, so don't let that constrain your creativity. If you go to Japan, I think Osaka, one of the mountains nearby has a bunch of statues from a Japanese poet called Matsuo Basho, okay? And there are a bunch of little rocks with his inscriptions on it, okay? And there he is, in the flesh. Well, one of these statues has one of my favorite inscriptions. It says, "Do not follow in the footsteps of the wise. Seek what they sought." The idea is this. Your instructors, right, your advisors, people you look up to, they can only really give you their ways of doing something. Now, they might know some routes to victory, some different approaches, some different techniques, knowledge, technology, but that doesn't mean that's all there is out there, okay? And if you restrict yourself to only doing what you were taught, then you might never find the next great thing. You might never become the next great teacher, okay? It's not hard to imagine. You're also brilliant. It's not hard to imagine that in 20 years, we, the staff, might be reading about and thinking about your new approach to game design as it sweeps the world, right? So seek to make an impact, a positive impact on others' lives, to make them happy, right? But don't necessarily take everything that you've learned in EECS 494 as gospel. There could be better approaches out there that we just don't know about, okay? And you could be the first to follow them, okay? Let us guide you, but don't let us drag you through your career, okay? And whatever you do, keep iterating. You'll eventually get to where you're going, okay? Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for joining us. It's been a pleasure. It's been a fantastic teaching you, and we're extremely proud of the work that you've put in, okay? And the result you've achieved. Wednesday is going to be a fantastic, fantastic day. I look forward to seeing you reap what you've sown. You deserve so much. And so make sure to let your family and friends know about this showcase coming up. Okay? They're going to absolutely love to see the result of your efforts. Thank you so much, team. And I'll see you then. Okay? I'll see you Wednesday. All right? All right. So I'm going to turn the music back on. I'll hang around for a few minutes. Otherwise, thank you all so much for joining us, and we will see you next time. Take care. You're welcome. You're welcome. Yeah, that's a really good point, Ish. That's a really good point. However, I think it does sound a little bit like you shouldn't take EECS 494. It will teach you how to probably make excellent games. But there are certainly probably other great ways out there as well. Oh, I'm excited. I can't wait to get your games uploaded to the early version of the showcase website. See how they look. I know a lot of people are very excited. I hope a lot of people show up. We'll see. Yeah, that's right. The idea of a class relating to creative pursuits is a little bit strange, isn't it? You want to be creative. Well, let me tell you the exact way to do what the exact way to accomplish what you want, and you'd better not deviate, right? There's some good irony there. All right, Ishwar, thank you so much for hanging out, answering questions, and posting links. It's been really helpful this semester. I'll talk to you later, okay? Take care, everyone. Bye-bye, and thank you so much.